Hello, I'm Charles Curves. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Curves Show, whether you're watching on Rumble or on YouTube or listening via one of the many podcasting channels. This is the place for you to be inspired to live a life of passion that is guided by your ever-rising self-awareness about who you are and what you want your life to be. I'll remind you of my definition of passion. It's a source of unlimited energy from your soul that enables you to produce extraordinary results. And one of my favorite quotes is this: greatness can only be achieved through passion. And I want your life to be great. So tap into your passion. Read my books. Go to my websites. Wonderful resources there to inspire you. Look at previous episodes of this show. So let's get into this week's key topic that has a chance of protecting you, to protect your freedom so that you can live life on your terms. And I want to talk today about the Australian government's plans and many governments around the world's plans for digital ID. Before I do that, I want to say hello to Buttonheart Bear. Buttonheart is a bear that works to rescue children from being trafficked for sex or slavery. Buttonheart is designed to help children be forever free from such horror. So go to the website foreverfreedom.com if you want to understand more about this. Please contact me. Buttonheart sits here to remind me of the hundreds of thousands, millions of children around the world whose lives are not free, who have been trafficked, who are in slavery. It's a shocking topic, and it's truly happening. The other thing I want to say is that it's my fourth grandchild's first birthday this week. So happy birthday, Finn Coves. We had a party to celebrate his first birthday. Do you remember when your first child was one? Well, this is my fourth grandchild. So we had a wonderful family get together. Happy birthday to him. So the digital ID. Let me tell you what the Australian government, and when I say Australian government, I'll now say government because it's a similar message from all around the world, driven by the globalist agenda to give you a digital ID. In other words, to tattoo a number effectively onto your arm, and forevermore, governments will know who you are and where you are. So the current position of the Australian government is this: it's actively implementing and expanding a national digital ID system. This initiative was started in December 2024, and it says the system builds on existing tools, existing databases. The government emphasises that digital ID is not a centralised database, but a secure verification method that checks against official records without storing unnecessary data. And it has the list of these benefits: enhanced security and reduced fraud risk, it says. If you have a digital ID, these are the benefits for you. Oh, by the way, the government says it's presently voluntary for you to participate in this. It gives you greater privacy protection. Imagine that. Convenience and accessibility, efficiency for users and organisations. Can you just imagine what that is? I'm going to show you why this is a disaster for your life. And economic and broader impacts. What might those broader impacts be? I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to run through quickly because I don't want to make this too long, but I really want you to get the clear practicalities of what a digital ID will do. And so you think of it this way, that you will literally have a number and the government can track you. So let's go through. I've got over 20 ways that this digital ID will be bad for your life and will be bad for your descendants. Remember, when government brings something in, to get rid of it is enormously difficult. Remember, secondly, the key role of most bureaucrats is to increase the number of bureaucrats. Patrick Wood, in his work on technocracy, shows this to be so. And Australia has the largest number of public servants per capita in the world. Bureaucrats, they just want to produce more bureaucrats. This is a gravy train being a bureaucrat in any Australian government. So let's go through over 20 ways that these digital IDs are going to be bad for your life. So don't you dare volunteer to do this based on these benefits that the government's sprouting for you. Number one, every activity where you spend money will be able to be monitored by government. Secondly, data that is captured by government is never secure forever. This lie that it's going to be enhanced privacy. The people outside of government are 10 times smarter than the people in government. How on earth can government say it's going to keep the data secure? It won't be secure. Number three, your monitored behaviours. Remember, if you've got a digital ID, every time you interact with anything to do with a computer, your digital ID will go in there. Your monitored behaviours can be used to blackmail you. And when I say blackmail, I mean people who get hold of that information, and that information is in the hands of government. So just think about this. Government can control you because it's got information on every single thing you do. Number four, your monitored behaviours can be used to stop you standing for election in any environment. That's federal government, state government, local government, your local tennis club. Someone gets hold of the data on your behaviour and they threaten to expose it. If you stand for election, we're going to tell the world that you go to a porn site. And for those of you who think you comply with the law, I've got a message for you at the end of this. But remember what Christ said in the Bible. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Don't be comfortable in your smugness that because you think you never do anything wrong, that why would anyone be worried about a digital ID? Because you would only be worried about that if you did something wrong. That is a bullshit idea. Number five, under the fraudulent claim of climate emergency, your intake of meat each week can be limited. Number six, this is the sixth way that digital ID will be bad for your life. By the way, I can think of 40 ways, but I'm giving you 20 plus. Under the fraudulent claim of climate emergency, your petrol purchases can be limited. 7, under the fraudulent claim of climate emergency, and there is no climate emergency, as you well know, under that fraudulent claim, your overseas travel can be limited. Number 8, if the Australian Tax Office, or indeed any government enterprise, claims that you owe money, and the Australian Tax Office is absolutely not to be trusted in its claims for money, every bank account that you have or that you are associated with is at risk because you have used your digital ID. The bank has that digital ID. The tax office sends a message to every bank in Australia and says, do not hand any of that money back to you. Number 9, if you owe money to government, to the tax office, any other body, your credit cards will not work becomes very easy with a digital ID to give a message to every credit card company to give instructions that your use of credit cards is stopped. And this whole movement to take away cash and have you on credit cards is deliberately designed to tie into this digital ID regime so that you can be controlled. The 10th way in which digital ID will be bad for your life and your descendants is you can be controlled in which schools you enroll your children. So if you don't want your children going to a government school that spouts transgender nonsense, it can stop you enrolling. And I'm going to tell you how they're going to stop all this as we move through this list. Number 11. Your access to hospitals will be compromised. And I'll give you one example. During COVID, if you didn't have the jab, if you were smart enough not to have the poisonous COVID jabs, you could not go to hospital for a transplant. You might be dying, but the hospital couldn't care. You weren't allowed in that hospital unless you had this poisonous jab. You think of all the other ways that government can give instructions to hospitals. Very easy, because governments give money to private and public hospitals and says, don't treat Charles Kovess because he is a bad boy. And I want you to think about that. When government thinks you're a bad boy, this is the simple way to think about this. When government thinks you're a bad boy, you're a bad girl, and they've got access to digital ID, you and I are in big trouble. Number 12, your medical history is in one place and can be used against you. It can be used to punish you. It can be used to segregate you. It would be a disaster for you. Number 13, your use of public transport can be limited. In other words, you won't be able to use public transport without showing your digital ID. If the government thinks you're a bad boy, you won't be able to use public transport. Number 14, if the government thinks you're drinking too much alcohol, you won't be able to buy alcohol. Number 15, and this is particularly relevant under the fraudulent claim of climate emergency, the type of car that you want to buy can be dictated by government. You've already seen the Australian government and other governments have said, our target is X number of electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are a disaster for anyone other than those who travel no more than a few kilometres and they live in the city. If the government doesn't want you to have a petrol car, what it does is it goes to all the car vendors and says you can only sell these types of cars. The laws will change to utilise this alleged voluntary digital ID. And trust me, it won't be voluntary for long. And the key with the solution to all of this horror is for you not to sign up for this alleged voluntary digital ID. Number 16. New laws will be brought in, and this is how all these horrors will be imposed on you. New laws will be brought in by government that direct what businesses can do to any customers linked to their digital ID. That's the way it works. First it comes in as voluntary, then it's compulsory. Then government says the butchers cannot sell meat, the booze shops cannot sell alcohol unless you produce your digital ID. Number 17, banks won't lend you money because you are tagged by government. Number 18, any criminal record that you have is forever on your digital ID. Now, here's the point about a criminal record. People say, well, if you've been convicted of a crime. Well, are you aware that the definition of a crime is any rule that you have breached that is prosecuted for the breach by a government, by the Crown? That makes it a crime. And it says, no, parking fines don't count, speeding fines don't count. Well, you get convicted for a crime. And by the way, there's a big conversation going on in Victoria about how kids with machetes are killing and injuring and terrifying normal Victorians, and they keep getting let out on bail to do it again. The point is this: we have crime, we have punishment, and we have recovery. If you go to jail for a crime and you come out after a year, you've done your time, you've paid the price for your crime. To then have that on your digital ID forevermore to be used against you is a horror show. Number 19. So not just crimes, but all court decisions where you have been involved in any way will be linked and available on your digital ID. Here's the 20th way that digital ID will be bad for your life and your descendants. Your religious affiliations will be known. And as I said, I'm going to repeat this again. All this information is alleged to be secure and private. It will not be, and it will be used against anyone who signs up for this madness whenever it suits government, and whenever, and here's the kicker. There are people in government who are not honest. There are people in government who want to do you harm, who can then get access to this data, even without hacking the system. They can get access to this data through their own networks. Your religious affiliation can be used against you. Number 21. Political Islam, I've said before, is a huge problem in many countries around the world, not individual Muslims, political Islam. But political Islam is coming to Australia in a big way. And the game plan is to bring in Islamic law, to bring in Sharia into this country. I am implacably opposed to that move. However, you've seen the way that political Islam drives the agenda in this country. There's much evidence of it, and individual Muslims are required to fight for the aims of political Islam, which is Islamicization. So think about this. If people want to do you harm, they go on and by the way, the group that is most persecuted on this planet are Christians. There are hundreds of millions of Christians being persecuted by political Islam, by Muslims. If you're not aware of that, you are ignorant. Wake up. And there's nothing in the mainstream media about this. Think about that. So suddenly you've got people who want to promote political Islam in Australia, whatever country you are in, and they say, I wonder where the Christians are. Let's get access to the data. And number 22. As I say, I could go on to 40, but I'm going to stop at 22 because 22 is twice Julie's birthday. She was born on the 11th. The law is so complex, no one can fully comply with it. And so you cannot live life without breaking the law. I guarantee you can't live life without breaking the law. It is so complex. And ignorance of the law is no excuse, is a mantra, is a legal maxim. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Nobody knows all the law. Nobody can avoid all the law. So that as soon as the government wants to get you, it can. And all of this data about you will be available. And I say that's a disaster for you. It's a disaster for me. It's a disaster for Australians. We must not voluntarily sign up for this, and we must oppose any moves to have a digital ID. And I really, really want you to understand, you think you're free to live your life. You think the government says this digital ID is going to be great for you. It's a lie. It's like the classic gag, how do you know a politician's lying? His lips are moving. You might get that I'm passionate about this, and I am. And I want you to deeply, deeply understand what it is that you like to do. And with a digital ID, the government can stop you doing what you want to do. My health tip today is to remind you of the complexity of your unique body. It is so complex. I want to give you a metaphor that's, I'm finding it to be a useful metaphor. Your body is so complex. It's like a football match. Any football match that you like, and you've got a number of players there, and the complexity of what is going to happen, the inability to predict what's going to happen to the ball, the score minute by minute, the movements of all of the players, that's similar to the trillions of cells going on in your body. And I want you to think of your body as a complex football match going on, and your job as the coach is to go, wow, I need help to understand what is going on so I can do what's right for my team in terms of what my body needs. And Professor Ian Brighthope beautifully articulates what the issue is around disease. He says, you are unwell for only one of two reasons. Either you have a nutrition deficiency or you have a surplus of toxicity. All right, not enough nutrition, too much toxicity. And then you start to go, well, here's the complexities, like your football team. The football team is losing. What do I do to win? And that's why coaches at high-level sport have 6 assistants. They're trying to work out. And this is the simplicity of a football match compared to the complexity of your body. So I want you to get excited by the discovery opportunities when you make the decision that says, I want to become a better coach of what's going on inside my body so I can get my nutrition levels up to what they need to be and my toxicity levels down to what they need to be. All right. I hope today's show makes a beneficial difference to your life and helps you awaken to the threats of digital ID and control by government. I want you to live life on your terms to make your life all that it's capable of becoming. If you're new to the show, check the links in the show notes for our websites where there's a ton of resources, my email address where you can contact me, and also ways in which I can work with you and with your organizations. Please subscribe to the show and share it through your networks, with your family, with your friends. Subscribing to this program won't cost you anything except the risks of greater passion, greater self-awareness, and greater enjoyment of your life. Thanks for watching or listening. And until our next show, may your week be full of passion, of embracing the challenges of life, of learning how to enjoy these challenges so that you wake up every morning and embrace this gift that each one of us has been given at this moment in time. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye.